What is happening? Content out 3 times in 1 week. The content is flying out of the garage at the moment, but I just feel inspired, so that is why. But I have now owned my FTR 1200 for over a whole season. I have put tremendous amount of miles to it, a lot of trips, and I've customized it twice. First with the full Rizoma kit, and then now with all my favorite parts, and then of course with this custom Lamborghini paint job. So how is it actually to own a FTR 1200? What are the good sides and what has begun to irritate me for a longer period of time by now? Cause let's just be honest, when buying a new bike you don't see all the flaws because you are still in love with the machine. Let's go. First, I just want to clarify that the FTR 1200 is by far my favorite motorcycle I have ever owned or tried for that sake. It really is. But I have now gathered some pros and cons about this bike, and let's just be real. Us human beings, we really like to nitpicking stuff. As with a lot of other stuff in life, we do intend to see all the flaws than all the good stuff. So let's start this video with all the cons about this bike. But when that's said, all the cons that I have about this bike is not really some huge deal breakers, but we start with the cons and let's finish up this video with all the positivity and a good feeling. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is the engine braking. And no, it's not bad, it's not dangerous, but it's definitely not as sharp and responsive as on other bikes that I have tried in the past. It just seems like there are a teeny tiny split second of a delay when taking off the throttle in the lower gears. I don't know why, and it's not something that bothers me really, but when turning off the gas, the bike should engine brake immediately. Next up is about the holy grail about this bike, and that is the cold start. I know a tune will fix all of your cold start problems, but in my opinion, when buying a bike that costs $35,000, and yes, you heard correct, $35,000 is what this bike cost in Denmark, then I shouldn't be forced to use another $500 on a PowerVision 3 and a tune. But okay, it does help a freaking much, and it is money well spent. But the cold start on this FTR is horrible, and you will have a choppy ride when the engine is cold if it's not doing this. What I'm going to talk about now is actually the only thing that irritates me on a daily basis, but it is also the reason why this bike can look cool as f***. Cause this is about fueling. When having the coolest bike on the planet, in my humble opinion, then you have to sacrifice in some places. And that is exactly what they have had to do with the gas tank. The way they have had to design this gas tank is also why the bike can look cool as hell. Because normally the gas tank would be up here as on a lot of other bikes, but in this situation the gas tank is underneath the seat and goes a little bit up. And that is where the problem with fueling kicks in. And it just takes some time to fuel this bad boy up. And you will be the last one fueling up every time you are at a gas station on a trip with some friends. But again, you will also have the bike that everybody is talking about. A nice thing that I actually like about the gas tank is that it is made out of plastic, so you don't have the chance for corrosion when it is stored over winter, as we have to do here in Denmark. The last con that I am going to talk about is the service costs. And this has nothing to do with your local dealer or anything like that, but the service cost on this FTR 1200 is in the high end. But when that's said, it is the same at all dealerships, so I don't know, it's some kind of, that is just what it costs. I had a Kawasaki C900 before this FTR, and the service cost is almost 3 times the price. So that is just something that you have to have in mind when buying the FTR, that the service costs is a bit more higher than you are used to. Not a deal breaker at all, but now you know. And now we have come to the good stuff, because I could talk for days about how much I love this motorcycle, but I will control myself and only talk about what I really like about this motorcycle. The first thing is probably obvious when you are looking at the FTR 1200, and that is the customization opportunities. Because this bike is so popular, there are so many third-party brands that are doing specific parts for the FTR 1200 in every possible way you can think of. Styling, bodywork, seats, electronics, you name it. My favorite parts is definitely from Tank Machine in France, but also Rizoma, Moto is some Wunderkind, No Limit Customs do some incredible stuff as well. And as said in the beginning of the video, I have already had 2 looks on this bike, the all blacked out version and then this more popping colorway with the black and orange with a lot of different parts, and the wheel swap. Next up, I am going to talk about the Indian community, and more specific the FTR 1200 community. I have never in my motorcycle life experienced going to a brand exclusive meetup as I did with the FTR, and it was phenomenal. So many different people sharing the love that we have for the same brand was a pleasure to be a part of. And I actually did a whole video about the IMRG meetup here in Denmark, and you can watch that after this video. But there are also, of course, a separate FTR 1200 community, and here I'm gonna shout out the Indian FTR 1200 group on Facebook, where all questions about the FTR is okay to ask. And I have never ever experienced people talking trash by any means. It is only good vibes, helping each other out and sharing the love for the one motorcycle that we all love. And when you already are on Instagram to following Moto Marvelous, then you can check out the FTR 1200 owners as well, because in there you will always be updated with the newest tech updates, parts, or anything related to the FTR 1200. Now we are going to talk about how this bike makes me feel. Oh sheesh, where do I begin with this? Because the FTR is brutal in the best way possible, because if you can control the power, then you are going to have the time of your life. It's a hooligan bike. When you jump onto the motorcycle, you just feel cool. It's just a certain vibe that this bike has. It's not that you have to look cool when riding a motorcycle, but this is just a feeling that I have when riding this motorcycle. I feel cool. This is awesome. I love the way this bike rides. I love the way this bike looks. I love the way this bike performs on a track. And for me, this is the perfect bike that takes all the good stuff from a lot of different genres and then created this perfect bike for me. Raw, brutal, fast, agile, beautiful, fun. I could go on forever. And the worst thing you can do is to try a test ride on this bike before considering buying a new bike, cause it will be love at first sight. And trust me, I have been there. I was looking for a rain suit, tried the FTR, and then came home with a new motorcycle. So don't come here and tell me I didn't tell you. And by the way, if you don't want attention to your meetups or on the streets, don't buy this bike. Then it's not for you. The last thing that I am going to cover is also a closed chapter already, cause what I thought was a huge game changer was the separate catalyst. Oh, happy days for not being forced to buy new headers when buying a new slip-on exhaust. And I have zero clue on why they have changed it on the 2022 FTR, because it is really expensive to buy a complete exhaust setup. So I just really thought that it was a genius move from Indian to design the exhaust system in that way. It's just so easy to remove the catalyst and straight pipe it if that's what you want to do. And not that you have to do it, but it was just so easy for me to install my absolute dream exhaust from Jekyll and Hyde. And if you don't know what Jekyll and Hyde are producing, then they are producing high quality exhaust system with valves and in-pipe catalyst. So you can decide for yourself with a press of a button if you want a FTR that sounds completely standard or should scream as a beast. Damn, I love that exhaust. As said so many times before, I could talk for days about what I love about this motorcycle, but I think you came here for the cons, so you maybe can make up your own mind, because it's not difficult to see what's amazing about the FTR 1200, but it's just so nice to see other riders' perspective on the cons. And for me, none of them is a deal breaker. So that was it for today, guys. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you're out already, and if you're new here, welcome. It is so nice to see you. That was it. See ya.